What's going on, everyone? Coach Phil coming to you live here. Just let's make sure we get all the logistics in place here. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. And if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. And if there's any questions you might have, definitely love to answer anything. You can drop them down in the comments below there. So yeah. Really excited today. We're going to get into some awesome topic conversation around systemizing and documenting. And if you see the description here today about what I'm going to go into, it's about really like stepping your game up to be an entrepreneur, right? And I'm really excited because last minute here we got a special guest that was able to carve out some time for us. So this is a special surprise for you all here to be able to tap into not just my mind, but another awesome real estate investor in the network here. And yeah, let's just give him a second. If you can get your camera turned on there, I'll bring you right into the broadcast here. All right, we got some people from Washington Township. I see somebody from Phoenix, Arizona. That's awesome. Yeah, so we'll just give my guest here in a minute to get his camera working. It looks like he needs to get that up and running. But yeah, today's gonna be about systemizing and documenting, and it's awesome. Here we go. Are you all ready for this? I hope you're all excited because I'm super excited. This guy is he's awesome. He is no joke. Been doing it for like 50 plus years. So without further ado, let me bring in the captain himself, Yasser. What's going on, Yasser? Awesome. Got yourself muted there. Let's see. I can unmute you. Oh, no, you got to unmute yourself. We'll just give him a second here. So yeah, I'll just tell you a little about Yasser. Yasser is he's got a vast knowledge of information on real estate investing. He is a full-time captain now for airlines. He's currently in some extensive and intensive training down in Atlanta, I think, right now. Yeah, there you go. You should be able to talk now. Your mic's off.
I got to figure it out. There you go.
Nice. Yeah, give us some coffee. I see somebody saying. All right.
I love it.
Yeah. Where are you at? Down in Atlanta, right?
I'm down in Atlanta. I'm doing my Airbus training right now. Been here for a couple weeks now. Still got a couple more weeks to go until I finish my training.
Nice. Yeah. So today we're going to go into systemizing and documenting. It's something that, like, when I look at it, the topic, right, it's about like how to be more efficient with my time, right, and also how to drive like higher and better results and growth. So when I sit here and I initially think about systems and documenting, it's like, why would I want to, put myself in a position? Why do I need that? Like, let's say maybe I'm a solopreneur, right? I'm just starting, or I've been doing this by myself for a while. And I think that, whether it's obvious if you want to build a company, right? And you want to build some width underneath yourself, that you're going to delegate tasks out, and you're going to need systems and documentation to be able to hold some high level meetings, right? Or to delegate tasks at a high level. But even if you're staying a solo entrepreneur, I believe that there's still a value, right? Like I talk to students about having a meeting with yourself. I think self accountability with these meetings and these systems and documentation that you create have a lot of upside, even as a solopreneur. So Yasser, what's your background with the real estate? Have you ever had a team underneath you and needed to do systemizing and documenting in order to have these meetings?
So I'm actually a firm believer of, if you guys have ever heard of the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. The E-Myth is essentially, you have your worker bee, then you have your manager. The worker bee is called a technician. The manager is the second level. If you think of a pyramid, how the base level is the technician or the worker bees, then the second level is the manager, and then the top level, the tip of the spear or the pyramid, is the entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to get to the entrepreneur level. However, it is better for quality of life and being able to enjoy your life and your freedom of time and money. So that's why, getting there is a journey, though. Getting to that level is a journey, because you need to be able to replace yourself on the
Mhm.
day-to-day operations as a technician. Um, how you do that? I mean, can we agree that you could actually do something every single day, Monday through Sunday, 9 to 5? You do something every day, but then when you come to hire someone, explaining that to them and training
Yeah.
them how to do it is a whole different ballgame. That's why even the minute details of documenting what you do day in and day out, whether through video, whether through documents, like actual written documents, preferably both. Um, they go hand in hand with each other to be able to teach your team, whoever's going to be coming in, to replace your everyday operation, so
Mhm.
that you could actually take a step back now and, really, really focus on working on the business, not in the business.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, documenting is very important. There's so many platforms out there to do that. Notion is one good one. I mean, there's so many different ones.
Oh yeah.
There's free ones, there's paid ones, um, but the key piece here is you need to document everything. I mean, if my procedure tells me to stand up, turn left, walk 3 steps, turn right, walk another 5 steps, I need to be able to document that, so that anybody replacing me is going to know exactly what to do step by step. So even if it's something that's more common sense, you still need to be able to do that and document it. So yeah, that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's you said the one adage, right? You said, do you want to either be owned by your business or be a business owner, right? I think we've all heard that at one time. And
Right.
that makes exact sense to this specific aspect and this specific topic that we're talking about here. Um, just give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. Daddy duty calls. So, and I remember a quick story, that I'll share with you all is that one of my early on coaches and mentors when I started my construction company, I'll never forget, as I was building my company and, I went over to his office and he had a printing company. He still does to this day. And I remember seeing him and his face was just super distraught. And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? You're all right. And he's like, yeah, I'm just a little stressed because next week I got a secretary coming in and it's my first time hiring a secretary. And I could just tell immediately what was going on in his mind. For 10 plus years, he had been running his business by himself and he knew all of his systems and documents in his head. Now he had to bring somebody in because growth, right? It was an awesome thing in a way, but it was a double edged sword for him because now he had to not only run his day to day operations, but also train somebody. And it seemed insurmountable to him. So um, I'll never forget that, and that feeling. And I took that and I ran with that in my own company, my construction company, and then eventually in the real estate investing realm of, as you're going along, like there are little tricks that we'll share with you today. Like I'm not going to get into detail with like what these softwares are, like you reference, there's a ton. You can go out there once you understand the mindset and the framework here of what you could put together as an entrepreneur in a real estate investing space. You'll know what to go look for, right? You'll start going down these rabbit holes and find these tools that are going to get you there. So it's about the mindset and the framework of what you can do here. And early on, if you're not in this position, or if you already are in this position, just think about the day-to-day operations you're doing, right? And what are the low-lying tasks, the things that can be delegated, right? One of the examples we've used in the past with one of our live events has been like, what do you think you're worth per hour, right? As an investor. And if it's anything lower than that, you should honestly be looking at some type of way to systemize and document that thing off of your plate. And even as a solopreneur, there's a hybrid version, in my opinion, where it's like I can have 1099 subcontracted relationships, right? One off acquaintances that will do these tasks for me, and they're tied to the project or the cost expense of that project, right? So there's different ways you can look at this here, but That's what I want to help you all, and we want to help you all understand today, is looking at that and share some of our own experiences and basically go through like the importances, the whys and why nots to do these things, and how to help you frame your mind of like getting into this position to be able to do that. So, with that being said, processes, what are they and why are they important? Right. So in real estate investing, what's a few processes you could think of, Yasser, that would be
Well,
some basic, categories of processes?
right off the bat, can we agree that a business with no leads is just a
What
chore
is there?
or a hobby, right? Can you guys hear me?
I'm not hearing you. Let's see. It might be me. Good. Yeah, it must be my audio setting. Good. Yeah, it must be my audio setting.
Okay. Oh, perfect. So someone says I can hear you both. All right, great.
Yeah.
All right, great. So, can we agree that a business, any kind of business, whether it's real estate, construction, whatever kind of business it is, waste management, right? For those of you up in New York, how you doing? Those businesses without leads are just hobbies, right? Any kind of business without leads is just hobby, is a hobby. So one of the first processes that you want to step away from and put together an offset to your new employees is lead generation. I call it the low hanging fruit for any kind of business. Yeah, you're going to be doing your own lead generation on a different level as a manager or an entrepreneur, bringing in business into leads into your business. However, the low hanging fruit, like for example, let's bring it down to the real estate level again, cold calling. You know, um, I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, I love cold calling 500 people per day." All right, and anyone that tells you that is a liar. um, being told no by so many people during the day can take a toll on you. And so, one of the best processes you could start is, what do I do from the minute I'm about to make my first cold call all the way up until the last one, right? And I document what I say, how I say it, right? The tonality, um, what do I look for? What are some of the points that I want to hit during a cold call? How do I handle objections? So that's one of the coolest and probably the most solid processes you could ever build for a real estate business, is essentially to put together a good training program for offloading your cold calling to whoever you're going to be hiring. Obviously, it's going to be virtual assistants, either in Philippines, in Latin America, in Africa, even. But one of the caveats here is that you need to be able to do the job first before you even offload it to someone else. Because how are you going to be able to train someone if you don't know how to do the job yourself? So the idea is, well, Yasser, what's the long, how long should I be doing this? However long you feel it takes you to feel comfortable doing the job is the right answer. All right. Once you realize you start getting tired of, you know, doing the same thing, cold calling every single day, that's usually the mental indicator that, okay, I need to start putting processes together to and document through documents, through writing and through video, that this is something that I need to offload. And then that's once you have that, then you have a system that you use to bring in the leads at that moment. And that moment only is when you should be offloading the task to someone else, like a VA, right? But spend time with the VA, right? Spend time with your employees, whoever you're hiring, to train them correctly so that And the litmus test behind this is that if you step away, or if, God forbid, you get sick or you have to travel with family or whatever it is, the business is going to continue running without you being there. Okay, that's the goal, and that's the litmus test. So if you step away for one day and the business falls apart, that's not a business. You haven't done the right job to implement your processes.
We haven't created the process.
Correct.
Completely. Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
For sure. So you talked about documenting. You know, one of the resources that we've used in the past was WeVideo, right, on your own computer screen when you're going through a document, recording it. You know, and if you think about that story that I was just referencing earlier too, it's important that you're systemizing documenting before you have the need, right? You're preparing and planning in advance to build your tutorials or whatnot. Because also think, if you have a document or a video recording of you doing a task, right? Even if, like, let's say, like, you don't have to be super professional about this either, really. Like, let's say you're like, recently I did a video and I'm driving up to a property that I want to assess, that I'm putting under contract. I'm checking the neighborhood out and I'm recording myself, and I am walking myself, you know, talking about what I'm doing through the process. That right there is a video tutorial. It doesn't need to be super professional or edited in any way. You know, it's just something that needs to be, you know, put out there in a space. Because then here's what I'm getting at. Now, when I choose to get that task off my plate, maybe I create an acquisitions manager, right, position, and I don't have to actually physically be there to train the individual. I can sit them down in front of the system or the document that I created, the video or whatever it is, you know. So don't overthink it, you know, just understand the process that you're trying to document and the process of handing off the process, if that makes sense. You know, like, you don't want to be tied down and create this thing to be a burden, you know. But I believe that a lot of us are wasting a lot of valuable opportunity and time when we're doing these tasks by not simply using technology to our advantage and recording ourselves, you know, per se.
Correct.
Documents, right? Documents are an easy thing, you know, as far as processes. We tend to always create our own documents. I know a lot of entrepreneurs and investors love, you know, spreadsheets, right? Those can be somewhat self-explanatory, but, you know, what I'll do is I'm going to show a little of our back end office here of what we're building for you all on the South Jersey Real Estate Investor Network in a little bit. I'm going to show you the members portal page, something that we're developing over time here, that really showcases this specifically of what I'm referencing, of recording yourself, walking yourself through the document, or your future employee or future, you know, team member on that document is extremely valuable. And it's not super hard. Like, I would consider myself somewhat tech savvy growing up in the era of technology, but like video editing, you know, influencer, YouTuber, no, I'm not like that good, you know. So if I can do it, I'm sure you all can do it and figure it out. So that's processes, right? The processes help you understand, like, where you need to create these systems and documents, right? What processes are you doing on a daily basis? I can give you some examples. We have acquisitions, we have renovations phases, right? We have the sales phase, right? There's generally about there's like 3 or 4 categories, buckets that you can put real estate investing into, and those would be the headings to your processes, right? These would be your departments you can consider for like a retail store, right? So acquisitions, rehabbing, and your sales department. And then you could have your overall business, right? So like what we would do in the past was we would have our individual departments would have their processes, and then we would have our overall business. We'd have like a weekly meeting or something like that to go over the business processes in general. How does all that work together, you know? So, you know, processes leads you also to a topic of procedures, right? And what we want to look at for procedures is, you know, in my opinion, procedures is also like your protocols, right? Is how do you create and implement these procedures? You know, we're just starting to touch base on that, of like getting a little deeper in the weeds of, when you understand what process you want to systemize or document, well, now you got to come up with your protocols, right? And the procedures in which you want that to run, or the parameters in which you want that to operate, right? So, like, I mean, I'm sure you can give us, you know, hours of schooling here on how to fly the Airbus 220 now, right, Yasser, because of all of the diligence and the work on the back end that they put into the user manual and the studies and the procedures that go involved in flight plan, right? So, you know, how would you say, like, if we were to just summarize within in a minute or so, how you would create or implement a procedure, a new one? Maybe this isn't something you've gotten from another investor or whatnot, and you
Yeah.
just say, hey, This is a process in my company, and I want to create procedures around it.
Great. That's actually a great question. The best way to go about it is, what do I need? That's what's the outcome that I want. For example, let's go back to the cold calling. Well, I want to be able to generate, I don't know, 5 leads a day, right? What does that look like? So you start with the end in mind first, then you work towards it, right? I personally use internally, we use something called Six Sigma, which is a little bit more advanced, but what that is just, I'm going to throw some acronyms at you. DMAIC, right? DMAIC, right? Six Sigma, it all comes down to that. You define the problem, okay? You define the problem, you measure, right? Because if you can't measure it, you can't fix it, right? Can we agree on that? You analyze, and then you improve. Most people stop at this stage, the improvement stage, where in reality, you should be actually deciding, did the improvement fix the problem? And if it did, that's where the C comes in, which is the control. Okay. And if it didn't, you have to go back to the beginning of it and define what the issue is and start measuring. So it's a continuous loop of improvement. So your first version may not be the best. Your first version I don't think of any first version ever being the best, but it's a work in progress. So, but you always start with, hey, this is what I want to accomplish. How am I going to get there? Okay, well, define the problems. Well, the problem is I don't have people. The problem is I don't have processes. The problem is I don't have a budget or whatever it is. Okay, I got those in place. Now what? Okay, I have to measure so I'm not blowing my budget on something that's not producing a result. So I have to analyze, right? Then the I is the improvement. Okay, we're spending a lot of money on this. Let's actually trim some of the money from here because it's a wasteful resource. Money is a wasteful resource, right? So I don't want to waste money on cold calling, leads that don't make sense, right? So let's go back and redefine the problem. What's the problem? We're spending a lot of money on certain things. So let's change it up. So it's a continuous cycle of DMAIC, essentially. Yeah. Essentially, what I just taught you guys is something that takes people a long time to learn. But that's typically how that you would want that to work. And it's common sense, but that's typically the process from the beginning to the end.
I like how Lay put it, done is better than perfect.
I love it. Yeah, that's actually so true.
We gotta just move forward. It's like, I like how you put it. It's the goal, right? We know the goal, right? I have a goal of an acquisitions team member. This is the process that I want to get off my plate, right? And I have a goal of getting X amount of houses, and this is my buy box, right? So then now I'm going to create procedures and protocols around how do they achieve that. Well, now I got to share them my resources, right? I got to share them my list, or I got to share them the realtors that they need meetings with on a weekly basis or whatnot, right? So from there, a layer deeper, what we get into is we can find ourselves in front of checklists. Checklists are very helpful in guiding and directing future team members to where you want to get to with the goal, right? So when you sit down and you're saying you've identified this process that you want to get off of your plate, right? To put yourself more in the entrepreneur type of role and free up your time to focus on more, advantageous things, you're going to want to say, just build a checklist, right? Initially, and just say, what is that process look like, right? I know the protocols around it now. I know the process I want to go on my plate. So what is the checklist? All right. Well, just start getting creative. And I like what you said, like, just put something together because it will get refined. And you'll find that when you actually put a team member in the seat to do this, they'll start getting creative with you if you've hired the right person. And you'll start redefining the entire system together and the processes and the checklist together. That'll turn into a beautiful thing. And ownership is an amazing, amazing, recipe for success when you bring in the right type of people, right? Like-minded entrepreneurs onto your team. They will take ownership and they will create beautiful processes and systems for you. Trust me.
Funny.
You just got to start the framework.
It's funny you say that, Phil. Yeah. I actually, I don't know if you know, but we started a door knocking business a couple of months ago in New Jersey. Well, we had this mentality that, because I started door knocking 22 years ago. That's actually how I started in real estate, was door knocking as a real estate agent. If I'm speaking from my mind and I'm writing out the processes, this is what you say when you knock on the door, step by step.
Mhm.
Well, we got 2 people in the network, 2 new hires. We got them on, and immediately they started saying, "Hey, what if we are able to? We tried your way, but we realized that we got more results because we saw the leads go up per day. What if we, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Oh, well, we took your script, for example, and then we tweaked it a little. Okay, well, what's the tweak look like? And this is, then they showed me what they were doing. I'm like, hey, come over to my house, role play everything for me from A to Z. The minute you knock on the door, and we did video. So what we did was we took that video and now it's part of the training program, right? So that's the cool part about it, is that when you have, and I love what you said, like when you have the right people, and it all starts with interviewing, right? They need to be a good fit. They need to be go-getters, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to hire lazy people. You could tell. I'd rather hire someone that doesn't know anything but has a very good attitude. At least like that, I could teach them, because once I teach them, they're gonna run off with
Mhm.
their mind is gonna grow, right? And they're gonna become more creative, and they're gonna contribute back to your organization. And it's twofold, because now you're helping them grow as real estate investors or even employees themselves. So they're developing a very valuable skill that they could grow with you in, and then
Mhm.
also take and do their own thing later on.
Mhm.
So that's one of the coolest things you could do for someone, and they could do
We've
for
seen,
you.
yeah, we've seen multiple mini businesses start because of that, right? Because of the impacts that they receive from our guidance as entrepreneurs in the organization and showing them what the power of systemizing and documenting is, that they start to see how they can build their own little mini business model in their specific, you know, seat that we put them in, like marketing maybe or whatever, they then spawn off and start creating their own company. So it's a beautiful thing, and one of the best ways to help create the circle, right? You talked about the loop, right? You create this idea, the process, and the procedures, and protocols, and a checklist. Then you start interview somebody, and you bring in a team member to start working with you on that and implementing that, right? One of the best tools you can to keep that full circle, to keep it refining, to make it the best, is a follow-up system, right? Internal follow-ups together, right? So having like weekly meetings, some type of cadence to come back together to the drawing board and say, not only go over the results, right? And we're going to get into that final topic here in a minute, a specific term we're going to use, but to be creative together and see what's working and what's not working and where the adjustments need to be made. Because we don't want to be inefficient. That's what this is all about. This is to create inefficiencies within systemizing and documenting aspects of your company, right? So with follow-ups, why are they necessary and how do we do them effectively? So like I gave a couple examples there, of effective is just a weekly cadence, right? I would have some type of, you know, rigid, strict, schedule that you're holding yourselves accountable to, and you're meeting and you're going over these things, and you start finding meeting formats, like mini systems start building on top of systems on top of systems. It's crazy. It's a snowball
Yeah.
effect. Right, but, why, in your opinion, Yasser, would you consider follow-ups to be necessary?
It's the backbone of any operation, regardless of the industry. You want to kind of, the way I look at it is, I look at it like a pond, with fish, right? You're gonna initially drop the fish in the middle of the pond, and they're gonna start scattering, right? Immediately, right? That's just natural way of the way fish swim. But what happens is, once they reach the limits of the pond, you know, there's, let's say this is freshwater and they're freshwater fish, and then let's say this is saltwater on the other side, they're gonna start going towards the saltwater and perishing, right? What you want to continue doing with these fish is to kind of keep them in the same huddle, right? So that they're safe in the ecosphere of the fresh water. Okay. Anybody joining the live, they're gonna be like, "What? I thought this was about real estate, not fish. What
Fishing,
is this?"
yeah.
So, but the idea behind it is that you always want to consistently do this. It's like a huddle, right? That's why we call it a team huddle. That team huddle, creates a sense of individuality plus group as well, group strength. When can we agree that the group is made of individual parts, right? And individual parts, just like a table. Let's say a table has 4 legs. If it's missing a leg, that table is not going to stand, right? So everyone knows their role, and everyone knows how important they are to the bigger picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without doing the huddles and the meetings at the very minimum once a week. Yeah, I don't want to do death by meeting because I've worked in organizations like that. I've ran organizations like that, and I don't like it. Death by meeting just tells me that the organization is going to be too unproductive. Because if you're here meeting with me, that means you're not out there working. But I want to be able to touch base with you once a week with an agenda, because a lot of meetings happen without an agenda. Like, what are we meeting for, right? We have our call calibration with my acquisitions team every Friday, 3:00. They know, hell or high water, that's going to happen, right? Yeah, sometimes things get in the way where we have to take care of stuff, but they have advance notice. But they know, they look forward to it every Friday at 3 because they're able to show off and bring whatever they did during the week, right? So that they could actually grow, right? Hey, what did you learn from this week, right? So the whole point of being an entrepreneur is to continuously nurture your people, so that they grow and become phenomenal individuals. You can't do that without touching base with them at least once a week with an agenda, and then reinforcing what they learned, reinforcing their mistakes so that they know what they learned from the mistakes, and so that they don't ever make that mistake again. They can continue growing. For your organization, they grow your organization as well.
Yeah.
Once you don't have the meeting, what happens is they go astray, right? They become unmotivated. So I think of the meeting like a lightning strike, where we electrify the employees every single week. Call it the Kool-Aid, call it whatever you want to call it, but at least like they know that, hey, we're watching. We're also putting all our efforts into you to make sure you're successful, and we give you all the tools necessary. But at the same time, we're open. The door is always open, so that you could come here and be like, hell, this is what's not working. This is what's working. We want them to be able to give them that leeway and that platform, right? And an organized platform. So without the meetings, the organization just kind of goes astray.
Right. So the meetings are like the glue, we could say.
They
right?
are absolutely the glue.
It takes leaders to keep an eye on the bigger picture, right? Like I know this in my construction company, that my guys will get, rightfully so, they're into the details, right? They're going out there and doing the implementation out in the field. And it's good. The leaders, us entrepreneurs, are supposed to be the visionary and the bigger picture mindset and keeping everybody on track. So those meetings are going to create that. Like you said, your meeting is called Recalibrate, right?
Yeah.
Is that what he said? Yeah, I love that. That's a perfect fitting word for you. I mean, exactly what it is. Let's dial it back in. The week has gotten a lot. We did 150 tasks this week here. Now let's dial it back in. Let's regroup and get back on the same page with our vision and our ultimate goal here, and then keep moving forward. Right? Are we supporting that ultimate goal of this process and these procedures and these protocols we put together here in this department, or whatever you want to call it?
Here's the thing, Phil, and I'd like to add to that as well. You can have the most phenomenal people in the world working for you, but if there's no vision, right, it all starts at the top, right? My vision. I have 2 different pyramids. The first pyramid, right, is the top-down pyramid, right? The normal pyramid that you see like in Egypt and whatnot, right? From the top, that's the vision, right? And that's the whole entrepreneur pyramid. But without the vision, there would be no business happening, right? But I also turned the pyramid upside down, right? Where I'm on the bottom serving my people so that they could serve sellers, buyers, other agents, other investors, right? So it's a bottom down type of approach to management. But that all starts with the vision. And so that these recalibration calls kind of, that huddle, it kind of recenters and reminds them of what the vision is in case they went astray somewhere during the week. or
Yeah.
because we're human, right? You're not hiring boxes, right? Or robots, hopefully not. You're hiring humans, so they have their days, they have their ups, they have their downs,
Hmm.
so you want to be able to be there for them during their downs and then applaud them for their ups, and then also show that in front of the rest of the group so that they know that you got their back as an entrepreneur and as a leader.
Yeah.
um, that's huge. That makes a huge, even if it's personal, as
Yeah.
well.
I think that's you're kind of hitting on a whole nother topic we could teach on about leadership and servant leadership and all different types of aspects of leadership there because if you're coming into real estate, like a lot of people are probably coming from a W-2 job, right? And we've all had the corporate boss. And one of the important things that I've learned is like make sure you're creating a judgment-free work zone, right? Accountability is different from judgment, right? And harsh judgment. So I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but I hope understand what I'm saying. Like, I don't want you to have any anxiety or fear because you're projecting this image of what you've seen a boss to be in the past with meetings versus what we're talking about here. And create a judgment-free work zone, create a growth mindset work zone here. That you can do that flipping the period. You can create the vision and build from top down, and then flip it easily within a few meetings. To say, hey, what are you guys seeing with the vision? What are you seeing out there in the field yourself? What are your takeaways? And have them start adding to the vision per se. Real quick question here. Joe Estrada is asking, what do you recommend when working with family members? I'll
Well,
let you take that.
that's actually a great question. Good to see you, Joe. Um, when it comes to family, it's very easy for the personal to affect the professional, if that makes sense. So you get into the habit of, oh, this is my husband, my wife, or my brother, my sister, whatever. Um, you need to treat that like you need to. It's multiple hats. You wear multiple hats, right? As a family business, I know my partner and I, we're family, but we also run our business together. But when we do have our meetings are just business meetings. We don't talk about the kids. We don't talk about what we're going to cook for dinner or anything like that. So there are dedicated times for the meeting where it's strictly, and now we treat each other like we're business partners, not as husband and wife kind of thing. But you need to be able to set that. Here's a caveat behind that though. One of you is going to be the leader. The other is going to be the co-leader. You're both going to be leading, but one has to have a bigger. One is going to be the visionary essentially, and one is going to be the integrator. Okay, the visionary is the one that sets the tone for, hey, this is like, for example, with us, we want 5,000 doors, multifamily. That's the vision that came from me as a visionary. Now the integrator, my spouse, right, and you guys know her, is the one that's going to be the day-to-day operations behind that and kind of getting the team on board to get to that vision. But that doesn't mean it's a dictatorship either, right? If my vision is skewed or it's not a realistic vision, this is where the integrator comes in. All right. So you have to kind of determine who's the visionary and who's the integrator. You'll know because the visionary is the one that's usually the one that's coming up with 17 different ideas every 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And we all know who we are. The integrators are more, hey, I want stability. I want day-to-day operation. Tell me what needs to be done, and I'm going to get it done. Right. So if you have both on a team, that's a phenomenal powerhouse right there. So that's how you do that, but also separate the personal from the business. I know it's tough, but after a certain time, stop talking about business, right? For us, it's usually like 9 o'clock at night because we have very long days. After 9:30, sometimes 10, we don't talk about business. We just kind of keep it between us, personal, and no business talk, especially no business talk in the bedroom. That's a huge thing.
That's a protocol within your own personal life.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it comes down to. And that's what I really like what you're talking about, to help Joe if you're not doing this already. And the question can have so many dynamics to your question. So I might be misspeaking, but I just want to drop it out there. If anybody is in this position, is that having the roles clearly defined. This is not only for family members, but any team member is extremely important. And this is why you see us going through an order here, understanding that we need to understand the process, the procedures, and the protocols, and maybe some checklists in advance that's sitting somebody in that seat. because clear expectations are going to be very valuable in the long run. If you just go at this thing shooting from your hip, you're going to get exactly what you get: a low accuracy, low efficiency, right? But if you're taking your time, you're going to the shooting range, and you're setting up your gun correctly, and you're looking down the sights correctly. I mean, those are all systems and protocols to hit the target dead on. Yeah, we don't know necessarily how to hit the target all the time with these new procedures policies, so we get the fail forward aspect of it. But you got to have some type of framework and role descriptions put in place. Otherwise, you're going to flounder all over the place. Go back to our fish analogies, right? So, the last one here is what you hit on it earlier, is measuring your results is super important in creating very efficient systems and documenting processes, right? And that's through what we call KPIs, key performance indicators. It's just a fancy term for measuring results, right? So KPIs are, let me give you a couple of examples, right? Like we can talk about idle time on a project, right? Idle time for renovations is once the project is purchased and the closing table and we're done, we own in that asset. How many days before I start construction on that project? Why is that important? Because it's a key performance indicator, because time is money. I have interest on that property. I have holding costs on that property, right? I'm exposed to the market every day longer I sit with that property. I want to get this thing done. So that's an important tool or indicator or a piece of information to measure so that I can improve, right? If I'm not understanding it, if I'm not putting down on some type of spreadsheet or in some type of meeting format that I need to identify what is my idle time, I might not pay attention to it at all, not even realize it's hurting me on the back, right? So key performance indicators are very valuable. Let me give you just a couple. I'll go through, what we have done in the past, just to kind of get your mind jiving a little bit of what a key performance indicator can be, so that you know what you're looking for and how to identify these within your businesses. So like I said earlier, we had 3 departments really. It was acquisitions, renovations, and sales, right? So within those 3, like acquisitions, a couple KPIs you can be looking at are, what is the projected ROI on the acquisition? What is the percentage of the offer that you got below the listing price, right? How many properties did you get under contract versus not getting under contract? Properties that end up getting archived or go cold on you, right? And then we look at renovations, right? Rehab department. What's some we talked about already is the idle time, right? We can look at the total amount of days that it took to do construction, right? We can break down what about the price per square foot, in the sales aspect, how many days on market for you, right? Did you sell for the price that you were asking? These are just some examples. And what I want you to understand is these KPIs, what they then afford you to do is an opportunity to improve. That's the key. A KPI is not about creating this judgment zone or like, super accountability, like, oh, we need to get to this goal or higher hell water, or that's it. You know what I mean? Or you're out. No, that's not about it. It's about creating a growth opportunity and an opportunity to reflect and see, how do I improve? Right? Maybe you're, on the acquisition side of things, you're looking at the number of offers you placed versus the amount of homes you purchased. That's going to put you into a higher level mindset of going, what's working with my marketing and what's not working. Right? So, when you think KPIs, Yasser, like, we know what they are now, but like more about like, how do you use them best to your advantage? What comes to your mind?
Great question. I look at, again, go back to the Six Sigma way of doing things, DMAIC, right? Those acronyms, they mean something. The reason why is because it's all about inefficiencies. I know I'm guilty of this. Just I'm pretty sure you are, Phil, and everybody, a lot of people on this call. How many times you sent out direct mail to a list and you never heard back? But then you kept on sending, 30, 40, 50 cent postcards to people. And how many have you received in your own personal house, right? That's inefficiencies. That's money that is wasted that could be used for actually getting stuff. That's getting leads that are quality leads where you're helping, because, as investors, we're out there to help people out, right? We're not out there to just renovate stuff. I know with me, with, creative financing, I always want to be able to help people out in their situations. So if I'm wasting my time, and budget on inefficiencies in the business, I'm taking away. It's buckets. And that's the way I see it. It's two buckets. One bucket, I'm spending a lot of money on direct mail where it doesn't make sense and I'm wasting money. Then I have another bucket that's depleted, and that's the bucket that needs the water, essentially in that space, right? So by using KPIs, I take from this bucket that's inefficient, and I take that water and put it into the bucket that actually really needs it, because it's a drought on that side.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that you do, why you analyze and you improve and all that stuff. But the other thing too is, how can we do better, right? I'm always asking my people, my tribe, my employees, what can we do better, right? And I don't care what other businesses are doing. I don't care what other investors are doing. I care about what I did yesterday and what we did last week, so that we can improve and become a better version as a company as a whole and as individuals compared to what we did yesterday,
Mhm.
right? That's why the meetings are important too, but that's not the only thing, right? We really want to be able to measure, right? So, for example, uh, I'll go back to the cold calling, example. Well, I have one VA that calls 250 people in 5 hours. Okay, that's 50, 50 an hour. Okay, great. Hey, can you do better? Because last week you did 250 for 5 hours. Can you maybe push it up to 300? All right. Yeah, boss. So let's see what we could do. First of all, don't call me boss, right? Just call me Yasser or captain, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, so based on that, now we're looking at, okay, if we got, for example, two leads out of 250, right? If we're dialing 300, we could potentially get a third lead that we could really put into our system and
Mhm.
follow up on and potentially close a deal, right? So when we look at stuff like that, it's like, how do we know how many leads we're getting if we don't freaking measure them, right? That's
Mhm.
important. But how do we know how many leads we could potentially get if we don't measure either, right? So that's why it's important to get rid of the inefficiencies and add
Mhm.
to and become better versions of ourselves as a company, moving forward
Yeah.
with the measurement.
I like how you put that. So, like, KPIs, how do we use them, right? It's the measuring tool of what's live happening, right? And then it can be utilized to create motivation for growth,
Correct.
right? One of the things that come to my mind too while you're speaking is that, you know, I've been in I've been on both sides of the fence where I've been an employee that's been getting motivated by KPIs, and I've also been in the business owner side where I'm trying to use KPIs to motivate my team. And one of the things that I want to make sure we don't get narrow sighted on as business owners is that most employees, W 2 or task compensated employees, are going to say, if you're pushing me to do more work, what's the reward? Right? And that's very important as us as leaders and entrepreneurs is to, if we can tie it to that, right? That's another way we can use KPIs to our advantage. If we can hit X goal, we can create more compensation per se, right? I mean, if the company's winning, the employees should be winning, in my opinion. So don't stay too narrow sighted and narrow minded, when you're doing KPIs. And what we're talking about here is systemizing and documenting that, because then it becomes more of a crack the whip boss type of situation than it is about the growth, right? So we want to make sure we're using these processes and these systems and these documents and these KPIs to not just only be measuring tools, but to be motivating factors in growth, right? And you can get very creative with that. So that's awesome. This is systemizing and documenting, from top down at a high level overview. Like I told you, I wanted to peel back the curtain a little bit and show you what we've been building here at the South Jersey Real Estate Investor Network. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you as members, we have it's like $30 a month, I believe, for our membership, and you can get access to our membership portal. And not only are you going to get meeting replays with us, but what I really want to show you is exactly how we implemented what we're teaching you guys today is the investor tools section. So if you go in here and you click on view all investor tools, we have, a decent amount of them already in here. But what you'll see is actual tutorials tied to the document that we created for these systems, texting scripts, repair calculators, purchase and sale agreements. So we're helping do the same thing to you all in your own businesses through this actual concept. So it's a beautiful thing. You see how we were able to create our own little mini, model outside of our own real estate company to help you guys as upcoming investors and entrepreneurs within this business model, right? So this stuff is, exponential on when you understand the concept, what it can do in other areas. So I really wanted to share that with you. Personally, I take a lot of pride in these, little tutorials that we put together for y'all. For $30 a month, like total value. Like this is not a sales plug or anything like that, but for real, like the amount of money and time that we have spent to, perfect these or acquire these in our own personal lives is way more than $30 a month. Just trust me. It's a great value, and it's a great way for you to even study how you can even do it in your own business, be able to share back to future team members. So yeah, if you want more information, you go to sjrein.com and check that out. And hold on one second. And you can check that out for more information. And just, want to remind you too, don't forget, my computer is freezing on me. Holy moly. You still there, Yasser? All right. I think I got it back now. Is that we have an upcoming event in January. So Yasser himself will be with us too at that event. We have 6 powerhouse coaches that'll be teaching on the real estate investing coming up into 2023. And specifically, we're taking a focus on rental properties. So we're doing a hybrid version. We got a handful of just limited VIP seats if you want to come in person and shake hands with me and Yasser and Coach Bud. And I believe Brian Fine, he's an awesome investor himself. You can come like when we're in between things, really gain a little more value. But otherwise, it's the virtual tie-in. It's completely unlimited. You all can get information on our Facebook page or on our website there. And we just really appreciate you tuning in again on a Saturday. This is yet again becoming a staple for us on Saturdays. We're going to keep on bringing awesome value for free to you guys. We just love, helping share our experiences and what we got going on. You got coffee with the captain, tremendous value over in that community too. So we're just really trying to build a lot of community and value to help you all get your businesses to the next level, or hopefully get you into your first real estate investing deal. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks, Yasser, for the last minute cameo for us here. We truly appreciate it. You're a wealth of knowledge. And
thank you, man.
Yeah, everyone, just have a great Saturday. Stay safe. The holidays are coming up. FYI, we probably won't be doing next Saturday. Obviously, it'll be Christmas Eve. So you can just stay tuned for updates on our Facebook page. And we will see you on the next one. Have a good one.